Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I am so thrilled about the interview today. We're going to be speaking with Jeremy Kane from Denver, Colorado. He has been in the business for a very long time, left his dad's brokerage to go pioneer on his own and create a massive business that he has today. Today, with 90,000 agents at EXP, he's top 250. He has been 4 times icon agent here in this company, which means he's producing a lot. He has just broken into over 200 agents that he is supporting with his organization. And not only that, this fall, he's opening a new YouTube channel in collaboration with his wife. I cannot wait to see that. But let's jump into this interview today because you don't want to miss it. Jeremy Kane, he's a coach and he has been helping agents to make real estate easy. So let's do this. Hey everybody, as I shared here in my introduction, I am so excited because Jeremy is not only an amazing top producer, but he has become a friend of mine, and I am so excited to have him in today to share his success, to share his story, and you're going to be inspired by the end of this call today. So Jeremy, thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Amanda, and happy to, help out however I can. And one of my favorite parts about being in the Wolfpack is absolutely the community that we have built. Some of the OGs, and I'm excited to get down to Miami and show kind of the others, the culture that we've built. And you're a massive part of that. So
thank you. No, I mean, I always felt welcome from day one. So, and you were definitely one of those. But, let's dive in deep a little bit just in your story. You have been in the business for a while. But let's go even before, like, what got you into real estate and in a little bit of your journey where you're at today?
Yeah, absolutely. I was, I graduated from Colorado State University with a psychology degree, was going to save the world, got into corrections, ran a female halfway house at the age of 24 years old, as an administrator of that facility, as well as an outpatient, kind of facility, drug testing and breathalyzer kind of situation. So I was in that corrections world, the kind of probation parole world. So I had large caseloads, managed large facilities, got people out of prison, put people back in prison. So that was an interesting, start to the real world at 22. And then after that, I decided that my success rate was extremely low. That's when, meth was an extremely high problem in our society, and it still is. But the success rate just wasn't there. I was impacting people, but it was on a rate that wasn't there. So I decided to get into teaching, taught at risk for, I think it was 5 years total. Again, was an administrator of that school by the end of the road. And one day I just called my dad and I said, Dad, I'm thinking about getting into real estate. He's a managing broker of 22 years at the time. And I just said, what can we do? And it was after the crash, right? It was after the 08, 09 stuff. It was 2013. And he just said, you're going to be great at it. I didn't know how he was going to react. He had taken his company and merged it with another company. Things weren't great overall in the market, at that time, still in the rebound phase. And he embraced it. He said, you're going to be awesome at it. Kind of took me under his wing. Then it came the realization that, yes, my dad's the boss, but I have to build my business differently, right? Because he was in sales for 2 years and got his managing broker's license and got into that side of it. He still sold, but he always had the managing broker salary and those kind of things with his own company, obviously not salary, but I wanted to do it differently. So I knew I was a native from the area. I knew I could make this, jump. And, I closed, I don't know, $60,000 in GCI my first 6 months. And after that, it was 6 figures from there. The real change came in my career when I left my dad's brokerage to join, the Wolfpack here where I'm at. And that was a big deal, right? It was something that, again, one of those conversations, I was like, well, I don't know what he's going to say. And of course, what did he say? Like, you've always worked harder at your career. Like, I'm all in. He was towards retirement. So it's not like it was just like, peace out, But it was an amazing change and transition for me that's really laid the foundation to really build something special, develop a true exit strategy. I mean, the goal is to be, out of the hustle of production by the time I'm 48 years old, which I know I don't look it, but I'm 41. So that's a huge deal for me, and the way it's tracking, that'll absolutely be hit.
Well, I think you'll definitely get there. You're already doing amazing. You're definitely someone I look up to. So
Yeah.
hopefully maybe that will be my goal, or maybe even sooner. I have few more years.
There you go. You're all right. And it's not everybody's story. But the
Yeah.
truth is, when I look back, I'm like, okay, what really lights me up? And what
Mm-hmm.
lights me up now is talking to that new agent who's
Yeah.
struggling to find that success and feels like they're always, in the grind or paying for leads, and taking them and helping them see the value in, building a true business versus kind of plugging into a team or taking those leads and just being an employee, ultimately, because you have to take that jump at some point. And that's one of the reasons, I respect you. Obviously,
Oh,
you
thank
were an
you.
employee and a full-time agent at one point, and you've made that jump, which is incredible and inspiring for those people that look to do the same. So it's possible,
Absolutely.
right? And so that's what I love to do, is kind of really just dive in. And I always say that I love helping other people build their businesses, and that served me really well in my production business as far as lenders and inspectors and all of those people, but also, in my agent attraction business as well.
Thank you for sharing all of that. So let's go back a little bit to the beginning, because I'm definitely learning more about you today, and which is amazing with your psychology background, and you've been helping people make decisions in a different way. How was that mindset transition from your previous job and getting to real estate?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, and something that, is, I don't know if I've ever really fully thought of it, but the fact that I had these conversations at deep levels that had real life impact, right? When you're dealing with addicts who are struggling from drug addiction, getting a little bit of freedom back, and how that looks versus, should I buy or rent? It's a very different, there's much more severe consequences on
Hmm.
the other end of it. So working through that, in real estate, it's a high stress time. So a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, like this is the end of the world. The truth is, it's really not, right? And so if my ability to de-escalate situations, to talk people down, to help through those real life, like addiction conversations and choice conversations, even through the education piece, right? Like, it's an incredible, experience that I had. And now I'm able to be like, okay, let's take a step back. Let's calm down. Let's think about all the options. Let's think about the outcomes. And it was really a great experience for me to have these higher stress conversations that we speak about today in the real estate world, because I've had a lot higher stress and a lot higher implication conversations as well.
Well, absolutely. And I mean, you're high producing, so you're talking with multiple families at the same time, right? Whatever it might be going on in their personal lives, sometimes affect the process. So it definitely comes in handy.
Mhm.
Um, and, like focusing a little bit, continue on the production side, what has been I know you're a great connector and building with the community, as you even shared early on, building other people's business. How
Mhm.
has that helped you with your, production side?
I mean, that's it. Like that's all it is. If you can connect people and be a resource to people, no matter if you have anything to gain from it or not, when you do have something to gain, people will think of you. So I've built my business 100% on referral. I believe that I've actually closed one paid lead in my entire life. um, so certainly there's the traditional leads, the sign calls, and those things that come into conversion, but it's all about connection, right? I'm from where I sell currently. I grew up 15 minutes away, went to high school 20 minutes away from where I live right now. Then I went up north an hour and a half to Fort Collins for college, and I came right back. And I serve both markets currently, Northern Colorado and Denver. Colorado. So how that's kind of transitioned is I've just known a lot of people, right? And I was a product of the Facebook crowd that you needed a college email address to be a part of. And so I started as a freshman in college, connecting with those high school people, omitting homesickness and all the things, and then moving forward on that. So it's just been all about that. And then when I got into real estate, I was like, okay, I need some really good industry partners. I still to this day do in-person events, go to in-person events to connect with those people, right? And I wanted to connect with the top of the top, and it was a very different conversation. It wasn't about, hey, what referrals can you do? What can you do for me? It's more about, hey, I want to partner with you. What can I do for your business? And that's a very different conversation when you have these lenders and these inspectors and appraisers, whatever it is, right? We don't necessarily have appraisers building business right now, but it's a very different conversation. And then when you step back and you expand on that, I want to be friends and buddies and referral partners with every entrepreneur in my community. And so if you have a salon, I'm coming to your salon, because people are going to sit in that chair and talk about real estate. This is how you refer me, right? If you have the best Mexican restaurant in Colorado, I want to be there. I want to know the manager. I don't just want to know the server that may or may not be there in 2 weeks. And so those are kind of the things that I do within the community to seek out business. And the more and more you refer them business or collaborate with them on open houses or whatever, the more and more that they're going to refer you. And as a small business owner, they have a different outlook than, the traditional engineer, employee, person as far as business building. So the more people you send them, eventually that's going to reciprocate.
No, absolutely. And I think as I say, you did that, beautifully. And I think it's paying off. How would you because I know you're coaching on a daily basis because you're growing your team, even just starting, how would you help someone to get into their community? What would be some of the steps or, just some ideas, maybe someone it's not on the known, right? But you will impact their business in such a big way. What would be some advice for just those first steps of kind of getting to the community, building, relationships, right, with some owners and managers and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, it's very basic. You have to be out there. You have to get out of your office. You have to get away from the YouTube video camera a little bit and just have real conversations, right? All of that stuff will come. I'm a proponent of social media. I use social media. But here's the deal. The conversations is what converts. And in our industry, it's such a lead-heavy industry, right? We have leads. I need more leads. I need these leads. The truth is leads are just data points, right? It's the conversations that actually lead to, conversion and income. So, that's what I would say, kind of boots on the ground, one-on-one, but just go be a part of your community, right? I teach a lot of times. I'm like, okay, we got to do the reps, right? Certainly when, you're coming into the business, you're going to have lenders at your realtor board. You're going to have all of these people and opportunities, maybe people even reaching out saying, hey, can I have 15 minutes of your time, whatever. We'll set a standard, right? I had a script for that. Hey, I'd love to meet with you, but I'm not going to meet you on a Zoom call. Granted, 13 years ago, Zoom wasn't really a thing, but I've continued that now, right? Let's sit down and meet because I want to get to know you as a person. I want to shake your hand. I want to have those conversations because if you're going to be on my team, I need to make sure that, you're going to show up in a different way than that. And on a sales call, on a Zoom meeting, you never know, right? So there's a different energy. So I vet, my partners pretty heavily and right away, right? When you sit down with someone, you're like, this is going to be great. This is not my people. My people aren't going to like that, whatever. And so you kind of develop that strategy and then it's just, you have to execute. You have to have 2 or 3 meetings a week. The good news is usually they pay. So that's nice, but certainly in person, getting boots on the ground because you're in the community. We don't have to hide behind the Zoom screen. And I also don't want a lender in Washington. I just don't. because they can't do events with me. They can't, be at closings. They can't do those things. So that's kind of how I operate. And the best way to start being seen in a community is absolutely to, be out and about and make those connections.
Yeah, I mean, if people are not seeing you on the streets, right, and connecting with different people, then it's just like, yeah, that's always, something that I talk with, with agents on my group too. And I know you probably say the same, that especially in this business, I mean, if you really want to succeed and you want to have a solid business, you can't be hiding, right? You need to be known. And I always say, like, people can choose someone else to work with, but at least they need to think about me. So if I'm on the top of their mind, one of the top three, obviously I want them to choose me, but at least I want, they're like, oh yeah, there's Amanda as well. So, we gotta be out there. Obviously social media helps a lot, but still, people are relational, right? So they want to connect with you on that level as well.
And I think one of the biggest things that I was taught early on is this is your team, right? We talk about our organizations and production teams and all of that. Like, if I'm meeting with a title person or a salesperson from a title company, like, are they good enough to be on my team? Do they have space to fit, right? A lender, an inspector, contractors, because the experience that our clients have is what's going to separate us in this tech AI driven world, is the experience. Absolutely. So if I'm the coach of a team, which I was a high school basketball coach for a long time, I want to attract, obviously as in high school, it's very different. Kids show up and whatever. But if I'm building a team, I'm putting certain people in certain positions, and some people just don't make it.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you are just sitting on the sidelines and being like, okay, well, this lender called me twice, I'm going to put them in the game because it's easy. Well, that's a huge misstep, in my opinion. You have to build a solid team, a solid foundation, so that you put your best foot forward for the client experience. And so thinking about all of these partners as a team, right? Even the best Mexican restaurant, the best ice cream place, the best salon, right? All of those people are on my team, because the better experience that my clients have while living in that home that they purchased from me, or the better it will be when they go to sell it for me. And so thinking of it as a team or an army or whatever your context is, but you have to put the right players in the game, and you can't do that just by, grabbing a free agent when you need it. It's about building it, especially when you're just starting out, because you have time. And so that's an important piece.
No, I was actually, we were just talking yesterday about, like, just even like people that use and other agents that don't use a transaction coordinator. And then when you start sharing what they do for you, and someone else like, wow, my transaction coordinator doesn't even do all of that. And I said, your transaction coordinator is an extension of you, right? Because they're taking care of your clients. And if they don't respond in a timely manner, like how you work, sorry, find a better one, right? I mean, like, because that's kind of how I feel as well. Like, my lender, like, if they don't communicate fast like I do, if they're not on point, it's just like, it's not going to work, because if that's how I communicate. So I feel like there is an expectation that you're building with your clients and, with everybody that is surrounding them, because technically you're the one that are connecting them with all those different resources. So totally agree with that. And so let's dive a little deep now. So I know you're like killing it, top producer, being an icon agent, year over year. So congrats on that. And then now, really focus on building your group, hit your over 200 agents. That is super cool. Super proud of you, and just, cheering you on in here. I want to get there soon too. But for now, let's focus, like, what has been, I think, your biggest success in attracting, agents to come and, work with you?
The biggest thing for me has been the realization that I'm going to build my rev share business like I built my production business. Right? Obviously, we're both partnered with Mike Sherrod, the Wolfpack, some other incredible individuals in our uplines, and we're not going to do it the same as them.
Yeah.
right? And, thinking about your upline, the twins and those kind of, they're a unique character. And
Mm-hmm.
you can take little things from them and you can do them, but you can't be them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And we're all unique. So exactly how I built my business in production is how I'm building it through revenue share. Right? If I have the opportunity to connect an agent with somebody that's going to make their life better, not necessarily within, EXP or whatever, but maybe, right? For instance, I have an agent right now that's moving from uh, Maryland to North Carolina, right? And she was having some issues with the North Carolina license, and it's just different down there. And my cousin happens to be a growth director at EXP, who I didn't join, by the way. But she, was able to step in. She was a former broker and kind of, smooth the path
Mm,
there because this, icon level agent was thinking about leaving because, of what she was being told by one person, not the other. So
mm,
connecting them has helped smooth that out, make sure that she has, a voice of reason and a voice of, direction down there. So that's the biggest thing is you just find these people and you can go from there. Right. You
yeah.
find different, okay, here's how I built my relationship with the number one lender in Colorado. She happens to be licensed in all 50 states. You can certainly use her out of the gate, but I want you to build, find a teammate, a partner that you can grow
Mm-hmm.
with. So the more and more you can connect people, the better. I've done it with you, right? Hey, I have this agent. She's from Brazil, just like you, those
Yeah.
kind of things. And you're just connecting those people and seeing where it goes. Sometimes it goes somewhere, sometimes it doesn't. But those relationships lead to referrals. They lead to all kinds of different, processes that you can, that encourage people, that help people grow. And bringing people into the family is one of the biggest pieces. So that's one of the reasons I'm so active in the Wolfpack. And I can tell you, probably the best agents, at least in my opinion, in certain areas, and who to talk to if you want to, focus on Instagram or you want to focus on YouTube or all of these things, because I'm present and I'm dialed in and I'm on
Yeah.
calls and I know people and I'm available to help them however, they can. I mean, people call me all the time and ask me questions about the model or co-sponsorship or whatever, and that's by design, right? I'm available by design so that people know, and it's served me well, right?
Mm-hmm.
This year I've done probably 3 or 4 referrals based on just people from the Wolfpack or EXP. It's just being a resource to people. So the connector continues on, in the same way. It's just a little bit different, outcome.
Yeah, yeah, no, and that's like, well said and well done. And I think like, because you're coming from a place of serving, then it pats the way for them not to feel that pressure. So it's more like, do I align with this vision and this, then I want to join, or thank you for helping me, but I'm going to keep you in mind if things change. Um, and so let's say now, I'm here, I'm a new agent, I join your group. What it looks like being mentored by you, being part of your group, like what is the dynamic?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I'm an available resource. I did create a course called the Foundations Builder within the Real Estate Agent Playbook brand. This essentially is exactly how I built my business, or completely organically, 500 homes sold, one paid lead, right? And so I built that out, and it's not sexy. There's a lot of work involved. You don't just get here in this career to do that, right? And I'll do my best, right? I'm going to have an orientation call with you. I'm going to give you access to all of the channels that we have. I mean, there's a huge value stack involved when you join my upline and the Wolfpack for you. And that's where we have to focus, right? We have to focus on getting plugged into one thing, right? If you're on fire about YouTube, well, I know a guy, right? Go to the Social Agent Academy, do that. If you're on fire about AI, I might say, hey, I have an agent, Adam. You get everything that I offer plus what Adam offers, as far as AI mentorship, right? I use it, but not at a training level quite yet. So there's a lot of different things that I do to kind of plug people into the right resources. But then at the end of the day, like I'll tell you right now, all 200 of those agents don't sell houses. right? And there is a certain level of what you have to want it more than I want it for you. So I can be a resource, but I can't walk hand in hand with you and say, hey, did you make your calls? Did you, record your content? Did you go have your conversations? It's all there. The blueprint's there. I have no doubt that a new agent could go through my course and sell 15 houses in their very first year in a new town, not knowing anyone, because of the way it's built, right? And there's KPIs and there's 12-week accelerators in there, but it's not for the faint of heart, right? You got to go. And, I talk to a lot of people and they're like, well, do I have to be a full-time real estate agent? And I say, you don't have to quit your full-time job, but you might have to work at real estate full-time if you want it to be your career. And I think so many people get caught up in the 9 to 5, the 40-hour work week, those kind of things. Yeah. You are a testament to that, right? You had a 40-hour a week job, maybe more, and built a real estate career, but you didn't do it by, clocking in and out, right? You clocked 100%. In and out maybe at your job, but you had to clock into real estate too to get to where you're at. So
just as much.
I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I'll be your accountability partner. If you want to run, we can run in whatever direction you want, but I have to see the actual KPIs being met, the tasks being knocked off, the time invested in it. Because if I'm going to invest my time in you, you need to invest your time into you as well.
Absolutely. And you do that, so well, and you have so many resources that you provide, to your agents. And as I said, it's just in the end of the day, right? That's the reason why we will think that someone got into real estate, right? It's to grow. It's unlimited what you can do in here, but it's still work. But you're working for you, right? So as hard as you go, the results will be there, and there's nothing that we can do even with all the coaching in the world if you're not willing to take the next step, and put the work there.
And I was actually listening to a podcast today. Andy Frisella, like him, hate him, whatever. He's quite the entrepreneur, and he was talking about this busy culture, right? Busy is a badge of honor, and somebody asked, like, how do I find balance? I'm doing this, I'm working on my body, I'm working 14 hours a day. And if you know anything about Andy, balance is not a word that he takes lightly, but he actually calmed down a little bit on this episode. And we're just talking about, it's not about balance, right? If you look at balance on a daily, you're never going to have it, right? If you look at balance on a yearly scale, maybe, right? On a 30-year scale, definitely. First 10 years are going to be, do everything you can as an entrepreneur to build business. Then the next 10 years are going to be kind of like, optimizing, systematizing, and doing that. And then the last 10 years might be where you're, figuring out balance. Mm-hmm. And he said it's not about balance or busyness. It's about effectiveness. And that's key, right? Because you don't have to work 90 hours in this business, but you have to be effective. Right. And we all have the days. Yesterday was a day where I worked 12 hours and nothing was happening. Every time I kind of got focused, a phone call, urgent matter on a contract or whatever. And it just wasn't a day that I felt like proud of when I stood. Mm-hmm. Right. I was just like, I got it all done, but I did 2 hours of work in 12 hours. So focusing on that effectiveness is huge. And I thought that was a good, parallel from the podcast today.
No, and it's so true, because I feel like I used to use a lot of the word work-life balance, just coming from the corporate world, and more and more from either like most likely listen to other, leaders podcasts. And the realization, because I feel like otherwise you're just on this constant self-sabotage because you're trying to find that work-life balance, but it's just like, where is your goals, right? Because as you said, now I feel like, the balance will come at a certain point, or when you take a little break by you, but your girls need to be the big driver in here. And I need to use all the energy that I have now, right? We're not getting younger, so that I can, not that I believe like, only do the things that you enjoy when you're retired, because, I don't want to wait until I can all walk to travel. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But there's definitely a little bit of that. Like you need to stay focused in what you want to accomplish, and
Right.
you'll take some grind, that's for sure.
And I mean, it goes with family life too,
Oh
right? If
yeah.
you have effective hours spending time with your significant other or your kids or whatever it is, it's a lot different than, the distracted doing this, trying to tie up this loose end. Yeah, you're hanging out with your kids, but you're answering emails and phone calls and this and that. Yes, that will happen from time to time, but the more and more you get organized and systematized, the less that happens over time. So it's a continuum, and it's a boundary thing, I think, overall.
Yeah. Well, as we're kind of getting close to wrap up, like, is there any tips or anything for someone that maybe is feeling stuck? It doesn't matter if they're new in the business or they just kind of like, this hasn't, we're in September and they're like, what happened? The year went by and I'm just feeling stuck. Like any, something just to kind of launch them into like, focusing on this last quarter of the year and trying to finish a little better, maybe that they started.
Well, it might be the first quarter of your next year, right? That's the thing. Like, we are not tied. And one of my biggest pet peeves actually is New Year's resolutions. Like, oh, like when people are text or posting like from December 28th to December 31st, like this year sucked. This person died. I had this health issue. I did this. Like, it has nothing to do with the number on the calendar,
Yeah.
right? And some of it has nothing to do with anything you can control. So why would turning the calendar to a different month, happen to be a different year, have any change on it, right? So you don't have to wait till January 1st to try. You don't have to wait till December 1st to make your business plan for 2026. In fact, who cares about 2026? One of the best books I've ever read is The 12-Week Year. And so you have the ability to start your 12-week year on any day, anytime, right? And so when you really think about it, if we look at our calendar, a 12-week year times four 12-week years, that's 48 weeks, that you have the opportunity. Well, that gives you 4 weeks off, right? So it's pretty cool if you like that for balance. But at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be a date or a time or anything. Like, you just need to start, and you need to make that decision. You need to get organized, quit chasing shiny objects, and just know that you don't have the fourth quarter means nothing to you, right? Yes, if you've had a rough time, you use it as inspiration, great, but just start now. Start now, and it'll take care of itself.
No, that is very true. All we have is today, right? So just get started.
Yeah, and I would also say, proximity is power, right? If you're watching this and you're not around a group of people that, is inspiring to you, and you've been inspired by this, like, reach out. Like,
Yeah.
Amanda and I would love to have conversations with you. But if you're not in the right circles, if you're not in the, it is, I get this all the time when I'm talking to agents, like, oh, I love my broker. Well, what's your broker doing for you? Right? Are you in the right circle, or, what's that look like?
Yeah.
My past brokerage, I love my dad, and, my dad's managing broker, not the employing broker. But when I left on April 30th of 2021, on December 31st of 2021, I was the 18th ranked agent at that company by volume. There was 1,500 agents at that company, right, at the time. So, and it wasn't that I did an insanely amount, but think about that.
Yeah.
Right? I worked four months for that company and finished 18th in volume. So do you think the proximity and looking around the room had something to do with where my success went and my growth? It certainly did, right? And that's why coming into a group with all of these amazing people, the twins and yourself and Dimitri and, Suman and all of these people that I'm now friends with, that changed that changed my whole career, right? Did I go from, 0 deals to 50? No, I went from 47 to 52. but then I changed the trajectory. Like I wanted to get in, I wanted to bring people into the culture. So if you're struggling with those around you, really have an honest opinion and look at it. Because like I said, I left my dad's own brokerage, and you know, it's the best decision I've ever made. My dad still invites me over for Thanksgiving dinner. Actually, I invite him, but he still comes. And, you know, that's proximity's power. And if you are stuck in the rut, really look at it. Like, it's your fault, yes, but are you putting yourselves in the right rooms, surrounded by the right people that are going to inspire you to do the right things?
Yeah, I mean, staying stuck, it's only your choice. So you can make a change, right? A better change. So where do we find you? What's like the best places to find you today?
Yeah, my brand's the Real Estate Agent Playbook. So over on YouTube, the Real Estate Agent Playbook. I'm on Instagram at the RE Agent Playbook. I'll send you those links. You can put them in there.
Yeah.
You can always book a Realtor game plan call with me or a Wolfpack Discovery call with me. Make sure you mention that you found me on Amanda's YouTube channel, and I will certainly bring Amanda into the fold because we are partners in this great thing called real estate.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for being here today. All your information will be on the descriptions. And if you watch to the end, I think at a bare minimum you can do to yourself is schedule a call and just see where it takes you. So thanks so much, Jeremy. I really appreciate you. We'll hopefully have you here again because you have so much knowledge to share.
Anytime. Always willing.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.